Florida just changed the game on traffic violations, and your wallet is about to feel it. Right now, thousands of drivers across the state are getting hit with fines that are double, triple, even quadruple what they paid last year. We're talking about penalties that can cost you $1,000 or more for mistakes you didn't even know were illegal. If you drive in Florida, you need to know these laws before you get pulled over. Some of these changes are already in effect, and ignorance won't save you from massive fines, points on your license, or worse. Number 1. The handheld device penalty explosion under Florida Statute 316 to 305. Florida's texting while driving law got teeth in 2024, but the enforcement penalties have skyrocketed in 2025 and into 2026. Under Florida Statute 316305, using a handheld wireless device for manual typing or reading data while driving is now a primary offense, meaning officers can pull you over just for this violation alone.
Here's what's draining bank accounts. First-time offenders face a base fine of $30, but after court costs, administrative fees, and state search charges, you're looking at $18 to $158 out of pocket. That sounds manageable until you factor in the 3 points added to your license. But here's where it gets expensive. If you're caught texting in a school zone or construction zone where workers are present, the fine doubles automatically. That same violation now costs you between $216 and $316 after all fees. The second offense within 5 years jumps to a base fine of $60, translating to roughly $230 after fees, plus another 3 points on your license. Insurance companies in Florida are using these violations to justify rate increases of 15 to 25% annually. For a driver paying $2,000 yearly for coverage, that's an extra $300 to $500 every single year for 3 years while those points remain active. The state collected over $4.80 million from this single violation type in 2025, and early 2026 numbers show a 30% increase in citations.
Law enforcement agencies received new training specifically on identifying handheld device use, and many departments added dashboard cameras with enhanced zoom capabilities to catch violations from greater distances. You might think you're being discreet, but technology is working against you. Number 2. School zone speed camera revenue generation. Florida expanded its school zone speed camera program dramatically in 2025 under Florida Statute 316.0776. What started as a pilot program in a handful of counties has exploded statewide. These cameras automatically ticket drivers exceeding the posted speed limit by 6 miles per hour or more in active school zones. The fine structure is brutal: $100 for the first offense. And if you ignore the notice, it jumps to $250 plus a license suspension until you pay.
Here's what makes this particularly expensive. Active school zones in Florida operate during specific hours, typically 30 minutes before school starts, during arrival and dismissal times, and 30 minutes after school ends. However, many Florida counties have extended these hours using their local ordinances. Some school zones now remain active from 7 o'clock a.m. until 4 p.m. on school days. If you're commuting through these areas daily and you're caught even twice in a month, you're out $200 minimum. The cameras capture your license plate, and the registered owner receives the citation by mail. You have 30 days to pay or contest. Many drivers don't realize that failure to respond results in an automatic license suspension through the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. Reinstating your license requires paying the original fine, the increased penalty, and a $45 reinstatement fee. Some drivers have reported receiving 5 to 8 tickets before they even got the first notice in the mail because of postal delays. Palm Beach County alone issued 47,000 school zone speed camera tickets in the last 6 months of 2025, generating $4.7 million in revenue. Broward County issued 38,000 tickets. Miami-Dade topped the state with 64,000 violations. The cameras are strategically placed at schools with the highest traffic volumes, and there's zero tolerance. 6 miles over means a ticket. Period. Number 3. Construction zone double fine penalties under Florida Statute 316.07. 745. Construction zones have become money-making machines for Florida municipalities. Under Florida Statute 316.0745, any moving violation committed in a construction zone where workers are present results in doubled fines.
This includes speeding, improper lane changes, following too closely, and failure to obey traffic control devices. The key phrase is where workers are present. But Florida law defines this broadly. Even if you see no workers, if the zone is officially active and designated with proper signage, courts have upheld the doubled fines. A standard speeding ticket for going 15 miles over the limit typically costs around $250 after fees. In a construction zone, that becomes $500. Go 25 miles over in a construction zone, and you're facing $1,000 or more, plus 4 points on your license. Florida's major highway expansion projects along I-4, I-95, and the Turnpike have created permanent construction zones that stretch for miles. These aren't temporary work zones that disappear after a few weeks. Some sections have been active for 3 to 5 years and will remain active through 2028. Law enforcement has increased patrols in these zones specifically because the fines are higher, which means more revenue for local jurisdictions. Some counties have assigned dedicated traffic units to construction zones during peak commuting hours. State troopers use pace cars and aircraft to monitor speeds across longer stretches. You can't rely on seeing a patrol car to slow down anymore, because enforcement comes from multiple angles. The Florida Department of Transportation reported that construction zone violations generated $28 million in fines during 2025.
They've added more signage, reduced speed limits in active zones, and extended the zones further before and after actual work areas. If you drive Florida highways regularly, you're spending significant time in these double fine zones. Number 4, red light camera ticket accumulation crisis. Red light cameras remain controversial, but they're profitable, which means they're not going anywhere. Florida Statute 316.083 authorizes red light camera enforcement at intersections throughout the state. The violation is simple. If your vehicle crosses the stop line or enters the intersection after the light turns red, the camera captures it, and you get a ticket mailed to your address. The fine is $158 for the notice of violation, which increases to $262 if you don't pay within 60 days. What's draining bank accounts is the accumulation factor. Florida's busiest intersections have cameras on all approaches. If you run a red light at a camera-equipped intersection twice in 1 week, that's 316. Do it at multiple intersections over a month, and you could easily rack up $600 to $800 in tickets before you realize how much you've been caught. The cameras work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't care about your excuses, your rush, or your emergency. Many drivers make the same mistakes repeatedly at the same intersections, especially on their regular commutes. You roll through a right turn on red without coming to a complete stop. That's a violation. You enter the intersection on yellow, but the light turns red before you clear it. Violation. You stop past the stop line, even by a few feet. Violation. The cameras are calibrated to catch these with precision, and review officers confirm each violation before mailing the citation. Several Florida cities have seen legal challenges to their red light camera programs, but most challenges fail because the programs meet statutory requirements. Cities like Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and Miami have extensive camera networks generating millions in annual revenue. If you live in or commute through these areas, you're at constant risk. The only defense is perfect compliance at every camera-equipped intersection, which requires knowing where they all are. Some drivers use apps that alert them to camera locations, but you can't rely on these apps being updated immediately when new cameras go live. Number 5, toll violation penalties that multiply faster than you think. Florida's toll system operates on SunPass and other electronic toll collection, but thousands of drivers still pass through toll plazas without paying, either intentionally or by accident. Florida Statute 316,101 addresses toll violations, and the penalty structure is designed to escalate quickly. If you pass through a toll without paying, you're initially charged the toll amount plus a $2.50 administrative fee. That seems reasonable until you miss multiple tolls or ignore the invoices. After 30 days without payment, the administrative fee increases to $12.50 per toll. If you drove through 5 toll plazas without paying, you now owe the toll amounts plus $62.50 in fees. At 60 days, if you still haven't paid, the violation gets transferred to a collections agency and they add their fees. Typically, another $25 to $50 per violation. Your 5 toll violations now cost you over $100 in fees alone, not counting the original tolls. But here's the real problem. Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles can suspend your vehicle registration for unpaid toll violations once you accumulate 5 or more unpaid tolls. This means your license plate and vehicle registration become invalid, which makes driving your car illegal. If you're pulled over with a suspended registration, you face additional fines of up to $500, possible impoundment of your vehicle, and more points on your license. SunPass transponder problems have caused thousands of false violations. Drivers with properly funded accounts have reported receiving toll violation notices because their transponder malfunctioned or wasn't read properly by the toll equipment. Contesting these violations requires time, documentation, and often multiple phone calls or emails to customer service. Many drivers just pay the fees rather than fight, even when they're not at fault. The Florida Turnpike Enterprise collected $47 million from toll violations and associated fees in 2025. They've installed additional toll gantries across the state, expanded all-electronic tolling on more roads, and increased enforcement of violations. If you drive toll roads regularly, maintaining a properly funded and functioning SunPass account is critical, or you'll watch small charges turn into hundreds of dollars in penalties. Number 6. Point accumulation leading to license suspension and insurance nightmares. Florida's point system under Florida Statute 322.27 penalizes drivers for moving violations by adding points to their driving record. Accumulate too many points in too short a time and your license gets suspended. The thresholds are 12 points in 12 months, 18 points in 18 months, or 24 points in 36 months. Each suspension requires paying a reinstatement fee and often completing a driver improvement course. Common violations and their points. Speeding 15 mph or more over the limit gives you 4 points. Speeding less than 15 over gives you 3 points. Running a red light or stop sign adds 3 points. Improper lane change is 3 points. Following too closely is 3 points. Leaving the scene of an accident with property damage is 6 points. If you're an aggressive driver or you have a bad commute with multiple violations in a short period, you can hit 12 points shockingly fast. Here's a realistic scenario. You get pulled over for speeding 16 miles over the limit in a school zone. That's 4 points and a doubled fine of around $350. 2 weeks later, you run a red light camera. That's no points because it's a civil infraction, but it's $158 out of pocket. A month later, you're running late and following too closely. Then make an improper lane change to exit quickly. You get pulled over, cited for both. That's 6 more points and another $350 in fines. You're now at 10 points in less than 2 months. One more 3-point violation and your license is suspended for 30 days. The reinstatement fee for a first suspension is $45. If you need your license for work and you can't wait 30 days, you might qualify for a hardship license, but that requires a hearing documentation from your employer and approval from a hearing officer. The process takes time and often requires hiring an attorney, which costs $500 to $1,500 depending on complexity. Insurance companies monitor your driving record and adjust rates based on points. 3 points typically increases your premium by 10 to 15%. 6 points can increase it by 25 to 40%. If you hit 12 points and get suspended, expect your insurance to either drop you entirely or raise your rates by 50% or more when you're reinstated. For a driver paying $2,500 annually, that's an additional $1 to $150 per year every year until those points age off your record. Number 7. DUI checkpoint cost beyond the obvious. Florida law enforcement agencies conduct DUI checkpoints regularly, especially during holidays, weekends, and special events. Under Florida Statute 316-193, driving under the influence is a criminal offense with severe penalties. But even if you're not convicted of DUI, getting stopped at a checkpoint can cost you money in ways you don't expect. If an officer suspects you've been drinking, even if you're under the legal limit of 0.08 blood alcohol content, you can be arrested for DUI if the officer believes your normal faculties are impaired. This is subjective based on field sobriety tests, your speech, your balance, and your behavior. You might blow a 0.0606, which is under the limit, but if you failed the field sobriety test, you can still be arrested and charged. A DUI arrest triggers immediate expenses. Your vehicle gets towed and impounded, which costs $150 to $300 for the tow, plus daily storage fees of $30 to $50. If you're in jail for 12 to 24 hours before posting bond, you're already facing $400 to $500 in vehicle-related costs. Bail for a first-time DUI typically ranges from $500 to $2,500. And if you use a bail bondsman, you pay 10% upfront, which you don't get back. Hiring a DUI attorney is essential, and good ones charge $2,500 to $10,000, depending on the complexity of your case and whether you go to trial. Court costs, fines, and fees for a first-time DUI conviction start around $1,000, but can exceed $2,500. Your license gets suspended for 6 months to 1 year, and you'll need to install an ignition interlock device on your vehicle for at least 6 months after reinstatement. The device costs $75 to $150 to install, plus $60 to $90 per month for monitoring and calibration. Your insurance company will reclassify you as high risk and require an FFR44 certificate, proving you carry higher liability limits. your premiums will easily triple or quadruple. If you are paying $2,000 annually, expect to pay $6,000 to $8,000 per year for at least 3 years. Some drivers report paying over $20,000 in increased insurance costs alone over the 3 years following a DUI conviction. Even if you're found not guilty or the charges are dropped, you've still spent thousands on attorney fees, bail, vehicle recovery, and time off work for court appearances. DUI checkpoints are expensive encounters, even when you win. Number 8. Suspended license penalties that snowball out of control. Driving with a suspended license in Florida under Florida Statute 32234 is a criminal offense, and the penalties escalate rapidly with each subsequent violation. A first offense for driving with knowledge of a suspended license is a secondary misdemeanor punishable by up to 60 days in jail, a $500 fine, and an extended license suspension period. But that's just the beginning. A second offense becomes a first-degree misdemeanor carrying up to 1 year in jail and a $1,000 fine. A third offense can be charged as a third-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. This escalation happens faster than most people realize. If your license is suspended for unpaid tickets or toll violations, and you keep driving because you need to get to work, each time you're caught pushes you up the penalty ladder. Many drivers don't even know their license is suspended. Florida law requires the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles to mail notice to your address on file. But if you've moved and didn't update your address, you won't receive the notice. The suspension still takes effect. When you get pulled over for a minor traffic violation and the officer runs your license, you discover you've been driving on a suspended license, sometimes for months. The fact that you didn't know provides no defense. Getting your license reinstated after driving on suspension requires paying all outstanding fines, fees, and penalties that caused the original suspension, plus the new fines from the suspended license charge, plus reinstatement fees that can range from $45 to $500 depending on the reason for suspension. If your suspension was related to a DUI, you're looking at $250 to $500 just to reinstate. And that's after you've completed all other requirements like DUI school and substance abuse treatment. Vehicle impoundment is common when you're caught driving on a suspended license. Recovering your vehicle costs another $150 to $400. And if you can't pick it up within a few days, storage fees add up quickly. Some drivers end up abandoning their vehicles because the recovery costs exceed the vehicle's value. The long-term financial impact includes difficulty finding employment because many jobs require a valid driver's license. If you can't drive legally, you can't get to work, which means lost income. The cycle becomes self-perpetuating. You can't pay your fines because you can't work. And you can't work because you can't drive legally. Number 9. Uninsured motorist penalties and financial responsibility law requirements. Florida Statute 324.021 establishes the state's financial responsibility requirements. Every driver must carry minimum insurance coverage of $10,000 in personal injury protection and $10,000 in property damage liability. Driving without this insurance is illegal, and getting caught results in immediate penalties that hit your bank account hard and fast. When you're pulled over and can't provide proof of insurance, the officer issues a ticket with a mandatory court appearance. The fine for a first offense ranges from $150 to $500. But that's just the start. The Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles receives notification of the violation and suspends your license and vehicle registration for up to 3 years or until you provide proof of insurance and pay a reinstatement fee of $150 for the first offense. If you're involved in an accident without insurance, the penalties multiply. You're personally liable for all damages and injuries you cause, which can easily reach tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Florida's financial responsibility law allows the other party to pursue your assets, wages, and property to recover damages. Your license remains suspended until you pay all damages or establish a payment plan approved by the court and all parties involved. Many drivers try to circumvent the system by purchasing the minimum insurance policy, showing proof to avoid a ticket or reinstate their license, then canceling the policy immediately. Insurance companies report policy cancellations to the state, which triggers an automatic license suspension. The state knows this game, and they've closed the loophole. You must maintain continuous coverage, and any gap of more than 30 days results in suspension. Reinstating your license and registration after an insurance lapse requires filing an FR-44 certificate if the lapse was discovered after an accident or citation. This certificate proves you carry higher liability limits than the state minimum. And insurance companies charge premium prices for FR-44 coverage. You're looking at 2 to 3 times the cost of standard insurance for at least 3 years. The financial impact of driving uninsured is catastrophic. If you cause an accident, One injured person with medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering can sue you for $100,000 or more. Without insurance to defend you or pay the claim, you're personally responsible. Many drivers end up filing bankruptcy because they can't pay the judgment. Number 10, new 2026. Distracted driving expansion and enforcement technology. Florida expanded its distracted driving enforcement in late 2025 and into 2026 with new technology and broader definitions of what constitutes a violation. While Florida Statute 316305 already prohibited handheld device use, amendments and local ordinances now target additional behaviors. Eating while driving, applying makeup, reading physical books or maps, and even adjusting GPS devices while the vehicle is in motion can result in citations under the broader distracted driving category. Law enforcement agencies in major Florida counties have deployed new AI-enhanced dashboard cameras and handheld devices that can detect driver behavior through vehicle windows. These systems can identify when a driver is holding a phone, eating, or engaging in other distracting activities. The technology uses machine learning algorithms trained on thousands of hours of footage, and it can flag violations automatically for officer review. The fines for these expanded distracted driving violations start at $60 for a first offense, but climb rapidly for subsequent violations in the same 12-month period. 3 violations within a year can result in a mandatory driver improvement course, which costs $50 to $100 and requires 4 to 8 hours of your time. Failure to complete the course results in license suspension until you do. Insurance companies have started asking about distracted driving violations when calculating premiums. These violations signal higher risk, and companies are increasing rates by 10 to 15% per violation. Multiple violations in a short period can lead to policy cancellation, forcing you into high-risk insurance pools where premiums are 2 to 3 times higher. The state's justification for this expansion is traffic safety statistics showing distracted driving causes nearly 30% of all traffic accidents in Florida. Reducing these accidents requires aggressive enforcement and steep penalties to change behavior. Whether you agree with the policy or not, the financial consequences are real and immediate. What makes this particularly challenging is the subjective nature of some violations. An officer might see you adjusting your GPS and cite you for distracted driving, but you might argue the adjustment was brief and necessary. Contesting these tickets requires time, possibly an attorney and court appearances. Many drivers just pay the fine rather than fight, which reinforces the system and generates revenue. These laws aren't slowing down, and Florida is expanding enforcement, adding cameras, and increasing fines across the board. Every driver in this state needs to know these rules because one mistake can cost you thousands. If you found this information valuable, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to stay updated on every new law and regulation that affects your wallet and your freedom. Drop a comment below telling us which law surprised you most, or if you've been hit with any of these penalties yourself. Share this video with family and friends who drive in Florida, because nobody should learn these lessons the hard way. Knowledge protects your money, your license, and your future. Don't wait until you're facing a massive fine to take this seriously. Stay informed, drive smart, and we'll see you in the next video.